Hello, 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 and welcome back to another Get Good at Business highlight. I'm your host and business coach, Taylor Proctor, here to help you get good at business so you can get back into the heart of why you got into business in the first place. And if you are a longtime listener or a first-time watcher, that's okay because this podcast series and these interviews are all about helping you get good at business by learning and seeing what is working for other business owners across different industries, different levels, and different services and offerings. And so today I am so excited to be joined by our incredible business owner that we're highlighting, Martin Howell. Martin, thanks for joining me today.
So glad to be here, Taylor. Thank you for inviting me.
So Martin brings over 15 years of senior leadership experience at a Fortune 500 company and 5 years in small business executive roles. His expertise lies in IRS compliance and government regulation, and now BOI reporting. And if you don't know what that is, keep watching. This is so important for small business owners, and Martin's going to tell us all about it. Martin has successfully saved his clients over $500,000 in fines and fees, ensuring their businesses thrive and keeping the owners out of jail. One of the nation's foremost experts, Martin specializes in the new Corporate Transparency Act and the impact on small businesses that it has. He understands the intricacies of the BOI reporting, helping thousands of business owners navigate compliance requirements. His commitment to preparing, protecting, and prospering businesses sets him apart. Beyond, of course, his professional achievements, Martin is a devoted family man who enjoys pickleball, follows NCAA March Madness, and leads an inspiring church choir. He's also the founder of CTA Express, where their mission is to prepare, protect, and prosper your business, specializing in beneficial ownership information reporting under the new Corporate Transparency Act, so you don't have to navigate those complexities alone. So I'm going to say it again. Martin, I'm so excited for you to be here. Thanks for joining us today, and I can't wait to dive into how you're running your business and how what you do helps small business owners be able to navigate some of the complexities of being a business and the government in the United States.
Sounds great, Taylor. It's really great to be here, and thank you for that introduction, that lengthy introduction. But it's super awesome to have this opportunity to share some of my experience and current ways that I can help small businesses, and I'm excited to answer some of your questions and offer what I can.
Beautiful. So let's first talk about the transition from senior leadership roles in a Fortune 500 to helping small businesses specifically navigate compliance with new regulations like the Corporate Transparency Act. Tell us a little bit about that story and that transition for you.
Yeah, it's a great story. I spent many years helping small businesses under the umbrella of a Fortune 500 company. I started out thinking I was going to be a mathematician coming out of college with a full head of steam, having a lot of advice from a lot of places. And I landed in this company that had as its mission to help small businesses thrive and grow and prosper through payroll and HR technology. And the company was called Paychex. They're a nationwide company. Started out in customer service and quickly realized that I wanted to be more involved with the people and the influence and the uplift and build that happens when we service our small businesses. And so I set the mathematic ambitions aside and decided to go full bore. Started out in customer service, became a supervisor, became a manager, ultimately over the years of my career at Paychex, I became the national director of strategy and new client onboarding. So all that time, I had my fingers in this business of lifting and building and helping small businesses thrive. And I just loved that. And it beat mathematics anyway. Who wants to sit behind a computer and do math 24/7? Then, as opportunities arose, I was asked to move from West Coast to East Coast. I didn't want to move back to the East Coast. And I thought maybe this is an exit opportunity for me. Maybe it's a chance for me to jump in and start working directly with small businesses. And so I did. I made the huge leap, difficult though it was at the time, to go from this large company with all these resources and teams and revenue flowing in the millions and millions of dollars, jumping down into a an executive role with a small business. And so I recognized, I thought I was nervous first. Can I even do this? They're going to ask a lot of me. I don't know if I have all the answers. And I quickly realized that that experience that I had in the large company, the leadership development training, building of teams, the interaction with hundreds upon thousands of small business owners and the designates that were trying to run those small businesses dramatically helped me make an immediate contribution in my first small business where I worked as the senior VP of operations. And so as I started wearing, instead of one or two hats, a very specific role in the big company, now I was getting to wear every hat, as you know.
Yeah.
Isn't that, and that's kind of the way it works, right? All of you small business owners out there, you're wearing a different hat every day and sometimes every hour. And so I got really good, really fast at pivoting moment to moment and then helping lift and build this small business who also had as their mission to help other small businesses. So I had both the best of both worlds. I was in a small business helping it grow and was able to, with that client base, which at the beginning was only 100 or 150 clients, was able to get relationships and start helping build and lift and grow. And also help them with the compliance, the IRS compliance, bless you, IRS compliance, and all of the other things that go along with helping a business stay out of trouble, stay on the path, and focus on their core competencies. A great ride, and um, the more I worked in small business, the more I appreciated the depth that I had gained during my years, multiple decades working for the larger company.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the Corporate Transparency Act and why that's such a crucial part of the business that you have now.
That's great. I learned through some of my experience that compliance is a big thing. If a small business doesn't pay attention to compliance, for example, if they don't file their IRS tax returns, if they're not paying attention to the laws around HR and payroll, if they're not paying attention to some of the regulations that come, it can take down a business in a hurry. I learned about the Corporate Transparency Act in an anti-money laundering conference, such an exciting conference, let me tell you. And I learned that this law was coming, Congress had passed it, and the agency, the government in charge of it was going to implement it. And so I started getting exposed to it a couple, 3 years back. And then finally this year it happened, and I realized businesses don't have any clue about this. The single requirement that is involved with this act of Congress is that most small businesses that are not sole proprietors are required to report their own ownership information on a website up to the agency, and it's called a BOI report, Beneficial Ownership Information Report. Most small businesses have a deadline for the end of the year. If it's a newer small business, it could be even sooner. It could be 90 days from the time you create your business. And the idea is simple. Share your full ownership, share evidence of your ownership to the IRS or I'm sorry, to the FinCEN, the sister agency to the IRS. But that's not always an easy thing. It's easy to say it, but not necessarily easy to do it.
Right.
So I felt this responsibility to get the word out and help where help is needed. And I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to evangelize this a little bit.
Yeah. So let's dive into the areas of the I move method, which is, of course, intuition, marketing, operations, velocity, and execution. That is the five key areas that I believe help. If we can focus in on those five key areas and get good at business there, everything else falls into place. And so I love that you said, I felt this responsibility to help small business owners. And I often attribute whether it's a feeling, an instinct, a calling, right, to our intuition. So, as we kick things off with the I of I move, how do you trust your instincts when making decisions about the direction and growth of your company, CTA Express?
It's a great question. Some of that comes from my preparation. And so, as I sniffed out this need and I started to feel it in my bones, it wasn't just a feeling, it was backed up by the experience that I'd had. I had studied, I had prepared, and that I think contributed to the fact that this resonated with me almost immediately.
Right.
And it resonated with me as, listen, I've been a small business and I don't know about this. I know that I've started talking to friends, they don't know about it. And my intuition said to me, listen, you can really help move businesses forward. And often businesses don't care about compliance. They care about, what's next in my marketing, what's next in my sales, closing the deal, helping my people feel happy and serving the customers and the employees of the business. And this blindsides people. And I knew that if a small business gets blindsided by this, it could be devastating. And and so that feeling kind of drove me forward as I kind of did my mini test markets out there to verify and validate that my intuition was real and it was true. And sure enough, the first 10 small business owners I talked to said, I have no idea about this. And like, why do I have to do this? It makes no sense at all. Why is the government involved in my business? You get all this emotion. I said, yes, all of that's true. It feels like that, but you still need to do it. And so it validated the intuition that I was applying to the business. And so I started executing on that intuition almost immediately.
I love that. And I mean, this is something that every small business owner in America needs if you're going to be running a legitimate business in the United States, right? So good market share of who needs your help and needs to be aware of this. So as we move to the M of I move and specifically marketing for this, what strategies have you found to be most effective to educate these business owners about the importance of BOI or BOI reporting and to help them know like this is coming up and that you can help them?
I've used three marketing strategies. And so the first was through my LinkedIn connections. Over my career, I had amassed a pretty significant body of connections. Half of those thousands of connections I knew well, or knew somewhat at least. And the other half were like connections of connections that said, yeah, I'll join. So through LinkedIn and hiring a LinkedIn specialist, I've been able to get the word out and I've had great response with that. The second, and that LinkedIn kind of blends into the second approach that I've taken, is I realized I can do one to a few where I can do word of mouth, I can do my friends and family and neighbors and connections, but I'd rather do one to many. And so I've tried to broadcast that. And the approach that I'm taking is to sign on referral partners in my network. So these are accountants, CPAs, attorneys, financial advisors, bankers, sometimes salespeople, former contacts of mine who are already selling into the industry of small business and the ones that are under 20 employees. So I have had this outreach to networks so that I can magnify my reach significantly. And in counseling with some marketing experts, even family members, they said, yeah, marketing one to many is so much more impactful than marketing one to a few. It's less exhausting. In the beginning, there's just me. And now that my team has expanded, I'm able to magnify that through uh, a key partnership. So that has been an outreach. Thirdly, I have been presenting like crazy on podcasts. I'm doing my own webinars with the Small Business Development Center in Utah County. And I have been reaching sometimes 10 or 200 at a time. I presented at a chiropractic conference 2 weeks ago, Saturday, and scared a bunch of chiropractors. I don't know if we want to be scaring our chiropractors, but they were all coming into me afterwards and saying, really? I have to do this? Yes, you have to do this. And
Yeah.
most of them didn't know. Word is starting to get out, but those are the three methods: LinkedIn, one to the many through a partnership network, and also my personal outreach and doing as many conferences and webinars, either online or in person, as I possibly can.
I love that. And I think that's a good takeaway for anyone who's watching this and there is a spot in their business where they're like, okay, how could I market it? And you just highlighted three ways that are relatively easy first start points, right? Your outreach, your network, partnerships, and getting on stages, doing webinars, and being able to share that message. I think those are three beautiful key points that anybody watching, you can apply those to your marketing right away. So let's move to the O for operations. Can you share with us some of the key operational systems or processes that you've implemented to ensure that CTS Express runs smoothly while you're maintaining that compliance expertise?
Glad to do it. one of the most critical things, and I love operations. Much of my career has been spent in operations. So I have to be careful not to do too much operations and not enough sales and marketing because I love the problem solving aspect of operations. But I knew in the beginning when I established my business, I needed to spend 2 or 3 months, and I did, setting up the proper infrastructure in my operation. And that organization meant I knew what categories I needed to pay attention to. I knew how many hours a week I needed to spend on executive work, which could be getting legal contracts in place, getting your tech stack in place, getting your vendor relationships. That was kind of one of the pieces that I had to time block for in those first few months of setup. I also knew that I needed to start setting up my strategy and set up my business plan for marketing and sales. You know, what we already talked about in my marketing approach. That's evolved 10 times since I originally established it as I've learned and iterated on it. I knew that I needed to be ready to take on employees, set up an infrastructure for payroll and HR. I knew that I needed to have a proper tech stack, so I focused on that. I made sure I had a CRM, which I would urge all of you business owners, make sure you have a CRM that is robust and it's going to match the kind of growth that you anticipate. And I would, in the beginning, above all else, get a CRM. If you think you're going to have more than 500 clients in your business over time, get a CRM. If you think you're going to have 20 to 50 clients that are going to be high activity clients and you got to keep track of your comings and going, get a CRM. And that doesn't just mean a spreadsheet. You might be starting with a Google Sheet or an Excel doc to keep track of your comings and goings. You might track it through your email or through your texting, but eventually you're going to want to go find Zoho, go find HubSpot. Salesforce is really expensive. I wouldn't do Salesforce in the beginning. Zoho and HubSpot are the ones that I've had experience with small businesses, and I love both of those tech stacks. And then I've hired off and on experts that will help me with HubSpot. Now I have a part-timer that does HubSpot all the time, with me, every minute of every day. The second is establish your finances properly. Make sure that you're tracking your expenses because you won't have time when business starts rolling in, that'll get put on the back burner. And so that's to me a key part of operational support. And then get yourself ready to bring in experts. If you're strong on sales but not on operations, then as quickly as you can bring into your business either a consultant or a part-time or somebody that can take an element of the operations of your business and fine tune it for you under your direction. I found that to be a great way to go. I've used Upworks. I've looked at Fiverr even, and it had just some one-off things with Fiverr. And I just think there's ways to get many contractors to do many projects for you to keep things moving along while you're focusing on the core of the business. That was kind of the 3 month building of infrastructure that really has made a difference. Now that I'm beyond 3 months, I'm in phase two of my business, which is launch, getting as many clients as you can. I have less concerns about setting up the proper email system, setting up the proper way to communicate within my team. I have both domestic and international contractors and employees that I work with, and we work really well together because in the very beginning I determined that this tech stack is going to allow me to communicate to a broad team that's working on different time zones. And I was grateful to do that. If you love Google, do it with Google. If you love Microsoft, do it with Microsoft. I love both. I have mostly Microsoft, but a little bit of Google in how I communicate and share files and documents. But the fact that I did that with the first 3 months of my business has made all the difference in the next phases of my business, the one that I'm in right now, and that's the full-on launch.
Absolutely. That foundational component I think is well, obviously that's why operations is part of the I move method, right? If we don't
It
focus on
is.
the operational structure, it's so hard to grow. And in your case, it's like I got the operational structure, so now I'm comfortable and confident with launching and scaling quickly. So I love that. So let's move to the V of the I move method, which is all about velocity. So, what strategies are you currently using to add that velocity to accelerate growth within CTA Express, especially as the need for an understanding and actually filing of the BOI reporting increases?
It's a great question. I have a number of accelerators that I've adopted in this phase of my business, which is the preparatory phase to huge scaling and growth. I'm kind of in that in between space. Accelerators for me are what I alluded to earlier, are making sure that I'm focusing on my highest priorities, and that is the one to the many. My highest priority is to increase the number of referral partners and fine tune the craft of developing referral partners into ones that give us many, many leads that produce and that become business for us. And so priority one for me in this stage of the business is the accelerator of making sure I'm spending time every day in developing my partner network and not just getting more partners, but also sharpening the saw for the ones that I already have. That has become an accelerator. A second accelerator is not getting bogged down in the details of the business and knowing when it's time for me to get another expert in to help me with some of the details of the business. Because right now, that's a pretty heavy load that all of us as entrepreneurs feel. It's you're wearing 20, 30 hats sometimes in a week, whatever hat that is. But you have to always make sure you're well wearing the relationship hat, the development of your network, and all of those things that are going to get to your end revenue goals that your end the goals you have to kind of bless and build the lives of of the businesses that we service. And so for me, time blocking and making sure that I am obsessive with doing first things first,
Mhm.
obsessive with priorities. My list of 100 right now, last night I just went through my list again, 160 to-do items, I think it was. And I realized I know that I can't do all of these things, but I'm going to pick out those three things every day at the beginning of the day that I am absolutely going to accomplish by the end of the day. And that's become an accelerator. It's helped me not drop the many balls that are in the air, and that has increased my velocity, and it's also protected my direction. I believe in every organization we are, and this is from Elon Musk, we are all vectors. Like, and a vector has a velocity and a direction. And so velocity is important, but it also has to make sure that you're accelerating, but you're accelerating towards your North Star
Yes.
instead of accelerating like a plane where you're going off track. Even though you're on autopilot, whatever course corrections you need to make, you make sure that you're pointed towards the North Star. And daily prioritization, identifying three things a day, has helped me keep those priorities and keep the arrow of my vector pointed in the right direction.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Some great gold nuggets there. So let's round things out in the I move method with execution. I think you have alluded to it extensively, but for clarity's sake, what is the biggest focus that you have right now and that you're executing on in your business?
Always has been and still is today to prepare, protect, and prosper the small businesses that we work with. And so everything I do on that long list of mine in some way points to that North Star mission statement that we established early on.
Yeah.
My wife is on board. She helps remind me when she feels like I might be getting going to the left or to the right instead of straight ahead. But the execution to me is a fruit of the labor of preparing my business with its proper infrastructure early on, the proper business plan early on, and really getting my feet grounded in what exactly I'm trying to accomplish. And in the end, ultimately, I'm trying to lift and build and prosper every business, every individual that I come in contact with. And so every so often, I do have a mission statement time block on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock where I go back and look and say, all right, did I influence positively or help build or lift or prosper any businesses or individuals this week? And if the answer is no, then I need to course correct. And so execution for me is mini course correction. It's managing all these hats that I'm putting on my head. And yes, there's urgent things that come up so that get us mini derailed. But execution for me has everything to do with focus and everything to do with identifying on a daily basis what are the most important things I can do today that will continue to point me in the direction of my mission statement and will match the values that I have established for my organization. And we discuss this in my team. It's a small team that we've assembled They know what that is. I'm asking them those questions, and the values and mission are the lifeblood, and they run through everything that we do. So if I have a HubSpot person that's building an aspect of HubSpot that will help us communicate better, sometimes we'll step back and say, how do you think this, when we complete this project, will help us to prosper, prepare, protect the businesses? And they know the answer to that. The project people on the project team know the answer. And so to me, execution is about managing those many hats that we have, but staying on course and making sure that things that we're doing are going to keep our vector pointed in the right direction.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Martin, because I think that there's been so many gold nuggets in this episode that our listeners can take and apply to their own business, but also like an understanding of the Corporate Transparency Act and the BOI reporting so that as business owners, we can be equipped. So, with that said, if our audience has any questions about the Corporate Transparency Act, BOI reporting, how to do that, how to file it, or have questions about how they can learn more and connect with you, where can they go?
I have a LinkedIn site, which is a great place to get information. We have many, many posts. We're very active there. Questions can be answered in the comments on any of the posts that we have. We usually have a couple of posts a week going there, and it's under CTA Express. And so my
Perfect.
LinkedIn site has a space between CTA and Express, where my website has a dash, cta-express.com. Website's a second good place too, but LinkedIn is kind of the hub of my activity, and I welcome anybody to reach out. Let me know that you came from Taylor Proctor's podcast, and I would love to answer any questions that you have.
Perfect. And that link is also in the description of this video. So you can do a quick click and go check out Martin's CTA Express LinkedIn. Well, Martin, again, thank you so much for joining us today, for being so real, transparent, and open about your business and what you are doing to cause so much change for small business owners in the world. And for those of you that are watching, stay tuned. We will have more Get Good at Business highlights coming your way. But in the meantime, remember that together we can get good at business.